Rumors whispered through intelligence circles about Venezuela being more than a political crisis or an economic collapse. There were always claims of hidden routes, protected shipments, and cocaine moving quietly through the country while the world watched something else. But few imagined this. Tons of cocaine allegedly hidden in an underground lab connected to vehicles, garages, and sealed corridors, right inside territory linked to the highest levels of power. And when U.S. agencies finally moved in, one question immediately followed them into the darkness. How did this stay hidden for so long? This story isn't just about drugs. It's about silence, protection, and the long gap between suspicion and discovery. Tonight, we break down 5 things you need to know about the tons of cocaine discovered during an FBI and sea-based raid tied to Venezuela's underground network, and why this operation may have existed for years without being exposed. Imagine this for a moment. Not a jungle lab, not a remote mountain hideout, but an underground facility hidden beneath what appeared to be ordinary vehicle infrastructure. Cars, garages, service areas, places no one would question. Investigators say the cocaine was stored and processed in sealed underground spaces that blended into everyday urban life. Concrete, steel, false walls, and access points that didn't look like access points at all. From above, nothing stood out. From the street, nothing seemed unusual. This alone explains part of the mystery. Satellite imagery, drones, and aerial surveillance are designed to spot patterns that look wrong. A hidden lab in the jungle leaves scars on the land. A covert airstrip leaves tracks. But an underground site inside a functioning city, masked by normal traffic and routine activity, creates no obvious signal. The cocaine wasn't hiding in plain sight. It was hiding inside normality. But that leads to a deeper question. Even if the structure was well hidden, how did tons of cocaine move in and out without drawing attention? Trucks, drivers, security, supplies, power, ventilation. People talk. Someone always talks. Unless silence is enforced, rewarded, or protected, this is where the story shifts from engineering to power. For years, U.S. authorities have accused high-ranking Venezuelan officials of being connected to large-scale drug trafficking operations. The term cartel of the suns has been used to describe alleged networks involving military and political figures who control key routes and protected shipments. According to investigators, cocaine often originated in Colombia, crossed into Venezuela, and then moved onward by sea or air toward Central America, the Caribbean, Europe, and the United States. If this underground lab was part of that system, then it wasn't acting alone. It was a node, a storage and processing point in a much larger chain. That chain likely involved multiple countries, multiple criminal organizations, and people whose faces never appear in mugshots. Colombian producers, Venezuelan transit routes, Mexican cartels handling distribution, European ports receiving shipments. Each step separated just enough to protect the people at the top. So if something went wrong, only the lowest level would fall. That still doesn't explain why this specific site stayed hidden for so long. One reason may be protection from within. A lab of this scale doesn't survive years without help. Checkpoints must look the other way. Paperwork must disappear. Complaints must go unanswered. Inspections must never happen. In countries where institutions are weakened by corruption, power becomes its own camouflage. When people believe certain places are untouchable, they stop looking. Another reason may be misdirection. Intelligence agencies often chase the loudest signals. Big seizures at sea, intercepted planes, arrests of mid-level traffickers. While attention stays focused on routes and shipments, the infrastructure behind them keeps operating quietly. It's possible this underground lab was never meant to move cocaine directly overseas. Its job may have been to hold, process, and stabilize shipments before they were broken down and moved elsewhere. So why now? Why was it finally discovered? Sources familiar with international drug investigations suggest that breakthroughs like this usually don't come from one clue. They come from accumulation, a defector, a financial trail, a pattern that suddenly lines up, a trusted insider who decides silence is no longer worth it. Sea-based operations often rely on long-term surveillance, tracking vessels, money flows, and communications until a hidden link finally reveals itself. When that link breaks, everything connected to it becomes vulnerable. Still, the timing raises questions. U.S. pressure on Venezuela has intensified in recent years. Sanctions, indictments, and diplomatic isolation have narrowed the space for quiet cooperation. As alliances shift, protection networks weaken. People who once felt safe may no longer trust the system to protect them. And when protection cracks, secrets leak. That brings us to the most unsettling part of this case. If this underground cocaine operation existed for years, and if it required coordination across borders, then it wasn't just a criminal failure that allowed it to survive. It may have been an institutional one. How many reports were ignored? How many tips were buried? How many investigations were redirected? And how many similar sites still exist? The discovery doesn't close the story. It opens it. Because finding tons of cocaine doesn't automatically mean finding the people who ordered it, financed it, or protected it. Those individuals rarely stand next to the drugs. They stand behind layers of distance, deniability, and bureaucracy. What happens next will determine whether this case becomes a turning point or just another headline. Will investigations follow the money? Will names higher up the chain ever be confirmed? Will international partners push for deeper accountability? Or will political realities slow everything down? And perhaps the most important question of all, if this underground lab stayed hidden for so long, what else has gone undetected simply because no one was allowed to look? This isn't just about cocaine. It's about how power can create blind spots, how silence can be enforced, and how the truth sometimes waits years before it surfaces, buried beneath concrete cars, an illusion of normal life. This case is unresolved, and until every layer is exposed, it remains a reminder that the biggest operations are often the quietest ones. If you want to follow where this investigation leads next and uncover the networks that may still be operating in the shadows, stay with this channel. Because stories like this don't end when the drugs are found. They end when the silence finally breaks.